Emotional roller coaster for the Cincinnati Bengals today, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the two quarterbacks that started the game, but a big scare for the Bengals. Joe Burrow suffering a toe injury. It happened just before halftime. As you take a look at it here, just gets swallowed up by that Jacksonville defense. He immediately points to his toe, lays down, had to be helped off as well, went back to the locker room immediately. So a lot of concern there for Joe Burrow as he heads back to the locker room. But in steps Jake Browning, and listen, it wasn't pretty. He threw 3 picks along the way, but here's what matters most. He powers into the end zone for the game winner there as the Bengals hold off the Jags 31-23. Jake Browning, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and those 3 interceptions.
What can you tell us about Joe Burrow's status?
Nothing right now, to be truthful with you. We got such a tight game. I didn't get all the information yet. So, again, I know where to start for me right now.
Do you know what happened?
No.
So, of course, that was Zach Taylor answering questions about Joe Burrow. We do have news here. The Bengals fear their starting quarterback has a grade 3 turf toe injury, guys. And obviously that is not good news for Joe Burrow. NFL Network is reporting it might require surgery there. 3 months would keep him out. Ran, I know you had a conversation with an athletic trainer earlier today about this. Bring us up to speed when it comes to Joe Burrow.
Okay, so let me put my medical hat on here.
This should be good.
I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, so I'm pretty good with the medical. But speaking to someone I know that's a trainer, just to get more clarity on these type of injuries. So a turf toe can be treated surgically and non-surgically. The non-surgical part of the turf toe is kind of what Brock Purdy has. And Pete has said Brock Purdy was able to finish the game on his, which was it'll likely be 2 to 5 weeks if you have to sit out non-surgically. But if it requires surgery, then you're going to be out 3 to 4 months. And the big concern for Joe Burrow was not only him being able to not put pressure on it once he got in the locker room, but allegedly was seen on a scooter. And so when I posed that question to the trainer, I got a message back that just said, not good. And this is the news that we're hearing now. So as soon as you got to a point where he could not put pressure on it, because Damien can tell you, a turf toe, typically you put you in a boot. At worst, you use crutches just to keep the pressure off, but you're in a boot and you're still mobile. But the fact that they put him on a scooter and to keep that foot off the ground kind of lean towards that 3 to 4 month area. So it's likely that Burrow will miss the rest of the season, which will now put them in a situation that they got some serious questions to answer.
You know what was on that scooter? Their season was driving away. That scooter. That's
you sure as hell right, Pete.
You know, and this is true story. We're walking out of the lunchroom before the game started, right when the game started. And remember, Josh Allen got hurt right away. It looked like he hurt his nose early in that game. And I turned to Jamie Eisenberg. I said, if any of these teams with a quarterback like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, whatever, lose that quarterback, their season's over. Then Joe Burrow got hurt. Their season's done.
Jinx.
Yeah.
No, I'm not the jinx. I'm just a realist.
Yeah.
Look, the bottom line is they're done. The Bengals season, Jake Browning did some good things today. He did some bad things. When Joe Burrow was hurt in the past, he did some good things. He did some bad things. Why? He's a backup quarterback in the National Football League. If you lose a franchise-carrying guy like Joe Burrow, your season's over.
Now, let me ask this question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but this needs to be addressed. At what point, if you're Joe Burrow, do you look at the Bengals and say, enough is enough? Enough is enough, because truly, we can sit here, and Pete, I know you would agree with me in saying this, Joe Burrow is the prolific pocket passer at the quarterback position. He is this generation's Tom Brady, their Joe Montana. He is that guy. They are wasting his prime. If they could just protect Joe Burrow, and we've been talking about this since he left LSU in 2019, if they would just protect him, he could have already had multiple MVP awards. He might have had a Super Bowl by now. His career, as good as it is, would have been so much better. So if I'm Joe Burrow, even if I did have the opportunity to come back this season, why would I? What motivation do I have? Because I'm a guy that's getting paid over $55 million per season, but you cannot make a dedication and a commitment to protect me as an asset of this football team. Not as Joe Burrow, your favorite guy, as the most important asset to this football team. You can't make that commitment. What does that say about how you truly view where we're taking this ship?
Okay, so I'm going to take my medical hat off now and put my GM hat on, because I would then, if you were posing that question to me as Joe Burrow, I would say, would you be willing to give some of the money back? because we've invested in your receiver core to get you the ball. We spent a ton of draft picks on the O-line to fix that O-line. Now, whether they got the right people or not, that's a completely different conversation. But you're one of the higher paid guys at $55 million a year. If you want to be protected, you got to give us some of this money back so we can now fully invest. And if you're willing to do that, then yes, let's address it. However, we're only going to be able to continue to put young guys in front of you because our money is so tied up between you, your two receivers, and I think the left tackle that they paid from Kansas City. So now the only way for us to build this football team is through the draft. Now, we can get rid of one of your receivers and use that as some trade bait.
A lot of people asked when it came to T. Higgins. A lot of people wanted that.
We can trade one of the receivers. We can get draft capital, and it will free up money for us in the salary cap. So those are all the answers to your question. Which one of those scenarios is for you?
And
so I'll push the paper back.
Well, and I would take this, and and if this said, okay, Joe Burrow, we want you to go from $55 million to $45 million.
Nope, not doing it. You're never giving my money back.
Okay, so wait, Pete Prisco, the guy that I just compared Joe Burrow to, Tom Brady, the greatest to ever do it, the most Super Bowls, the most everything. What did he do? He took that pay cut. He was never the highest paid quarterback in the league.
There's some talk that maybe he really didn't on the side, if you know what I mean.
Well, but
we're not going to come
We're not going to start getting in here pushing agendas. But what I'm saying is, Joe Burrow, listen, can you sit here and confidently tell me that you think that Joe Burrow cares more about money than winning?
No, I don't believe.
Can you tell me that?
I don't believe that.
Can you tell me that?
No, but I also think that I've obviously never played in the NFL, but like if I got a raise and then you are asking me to give back my money that I earned, and it's a team sport, I get it, but it's my money, and now you're asking me to give my money back so that other people who are not doing their job, I get it.
Yeah, but at the same time, with everything you want in life, you've got to make sacrifices. Am I wrong or am I right? You've got to make sacrifices to get to the goal. Because if you're getting paid $55 million,
if you're getting paid $55 million, and they come to you, and you're in Joe Burrow's situation, and you're
giving back $10 million a year,
you're going to give me back $10 million in order for us to be successful.
If you give me an offensive line that'll protect,
well, they spent money on the left tackle. They drafted a first rounder on the right tackle.
Whoa. What did Josh Allen do? He came out and said he could have broken Buffalo's bank. He could have done that, but he didn't do that because he wanted other guys like James Cook to get theirs, other guys like Khalil Shakir to get theirs.
Say that all you want. And the reality is, just like Tom Brady always said it, we know better than that. Come on, Damien, you know better
Josh
than that.
Allen, the MVP of the league, just
better
did
than
it,
that.
Pete.
You never look. Rank your. If I go around training camp all the time, you rank them all the time. Money. Money, Hall, ring. And money is the most important. He got his money. Now it's up to the Bengals to fix the offensive line in front of them. They paid the left tackle. They drafted the right tackle was drafted in the first round. They drafted a guard this year in the third round who's starting. They put assets into the other positions. They've tried to fix the offensive line. Just hasn't worked. That's not on Joe Burrow. That's on the Bengals.
Well, yeah, but still, again, I'm going to go back to Josh Allen. What did he say? There's no difference between me making $5 million more or $5 million less. I would
when he's 65, he'll think differently when his kids are draining him.
I would double down on that and say that when you're making that much money, even $10 million, it doesn't matter if it comes with what comes with giving up that money.
If that doesn't matter, why does everybody fight to the end to get $10 million
more? Because not everybody is a quarterback.
Micah Parsons fight to the end to get $10 million more a year.
Yeah, because that's different. He's not protected the same way a quarterback is.
Let me bring this home. And say it like this. I think the scenario is different if Joe Burrow had already won a championship.
Okay.
If he's already won a championship, you can make those sacrifices to give up your money to go get other players to surround you with. I think that was where Tom Brady was. He had already won a championship by the time he had gotten paid, and so those things were important to him so he could make those sacrifices. But when you're climbing, it's like, all right, listen, you have a job to do, I have a job to do, and this is my money, and you have to figure it out. Now, again, to the final point.
No conceivable way he made less money than him.
Because we got to talk about the Jaguars.
Let's just go to the. Let's
go on. Agree to disagree.
The boogeyman's coming soon too, guys. Be careful. Come on.
Really quick, guys, I want to look at the other side of this matchup. Jaguars dropped to 1-1. How are we feeling about Trevor Lawrence? And Pete, I'll come to you first because obviously there were moments he threw for 271 yards, but there were some interceptions. There was a fight between him and Liam Cohen at one point. Where's your vibe check?
Okay, there were a couple bad throws in that game he made. Should never have made them. He also made some really good throws. One of those interceptions, Brian Thomas, who has become a problem, by the way, didn't run through his route, made a business decision, so to speak. Later in the game, he made another business decision, so to speak. De'Ami Brown dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone that should have been a game clincher, game over. So there were bad and there were good. As far as the sideline thing, I talked to some people. It's not that big a deal.
We have the video of it. I want you, maybe we can react in real time here because maybe it's a concern. You've got Liam Cohen on the side beating on his chest. It almost is like, listen to me. And Trevor obviously is not paying attention.
Now, Pete Prisco, if you sit here and tell me that you believe whoever told you that this is nothing, you're flat out lying.
I'm going to tell you what that is.
What is that, Pete?
The ball went off of De'Ami Brown's hands, and he wanted it would have been a tough catch, but he should have caught it. He wants the ball down here. That's all that was.
Well, yeah, and the reason why Liam Cohen wants it that way is because he makes him practice it that way every day at practice. So and I'm not saying he shouldn't have caught the ball. That, by no means am I excusing a drop. All I'm saying is if I'm a coach and I make you practice something a certain way and then you go out in the game and you don't do it that way, then it's my job to correct that. It's my job to sit here and tell you, put it on his chest. Even though he should have caught the ball, that doesn't mean that you did your job as well as you could have done your job.
Liam Cohen should worry about his own job. He went for it on 4th down late in the game when he should have kicked the field goal.
Bottom line, even got to your cuts yet. That's later in
the bottom line is, when you throw a ball here, the guy's supposed to catch it. Liam Cohen's getting a little too emotional because the ball
okay, so now this is Liam Cohen overstepping by telling a quarterback to do something that he's coached to do every day in practice.
By showing him up on the sideline, that's a bad look.
By telling him to put. What do you mean that's a bad look? So you never see coaches telling players what to do on the field anymore?
Of course you do. But
what's the difference?
You think this is a little emotional on the sideline?
Well, and this is what I really wanted to get to. You're over here talking about, Trevor Lawrence, he did some bad, he had some good. It's not that bad. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look good. And for a guy that had so much expectation coming out of college, for a guy that has had so much expectation after signing this new deal, after being a guy that we've talked about has the most to prove as a starting quarterback in the NFL, you just said, Pete Prisco, yeah, he had some good throws, he had some bad throws. You know what you said earlier? You said the same thing about Drake Browning, and you said why? Because he's a backup quarterback. So if you can take that same...
You think Trevor Lawrence is a backup quarterback?
No, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that he's not playing well if he has some good throws and some bad throws.
Look, the bottom line is the receivers didn't help him out today. They win the game if they catch the ball in the end.
He didn't help himself out by trying to force touchdowns in the back of the end zone.
When we talk about Trevor Lawrence, because I feel you, there does seem to be this conversation with Trevor where there's always a but with the performance, right? Oh, like he had this bad performance, but, or oh, it's this. So after we've seen what he did today against the Bengals, we have the numbers, we have all the history here. How far is the leash before we go another season of saying he's supposed to hit these expectations?
If he doesn't, if they don't play well the rest of the way, there's major questions about him.
They're already not playing well, Pete. They're not.
He didn't play well today.
Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, 24 of 42, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
And one of those interceptions is because Brian Thomas didn't run his route in the middle of the field, correct?
What do you think? Was it a good game?
I feel
like, are we? And also, hold on, wait. Pete Prisco is also mentioning that he had another interception taken off the board. But continue.
Right. He also had a touchdown pass taken off the board by dropping the
again. So some good, some bad. Right. That doesn't
every
equate
quarterback
to a
in this
great
league.
I feel great. I feel like I'm a judge on one of those shows.
Seats and now we've got
I get to hear this. I'm almost like a kid listening to both of his parents argue, and I'm just going back and forth.
There are flaws.
Here's what I'll say about the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is their identity? They don't have an identity.
And it's not a passing team because Trevor Lawrence isn't passing the ball that well.
Well, they were a passing team today because I don't know why they were.
And we talked about it as we were watching the game in terms of situations of why not just run the ball. And so this is where I feel the big question for me is, what is your identity going to be? Trevor Lawrence is talented. Whether he plays well consistently, I'll let you two finish arguing that point.
Damien's got the fan blowing over here.
Listen, Damien's blood pressure is up.
It is, but I got you.
Listen, folks at home. This is good, healthy banter.
Me and Pete gonna hug it out.
We're gonna woo side.
Yeah.
We're gonna woo.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
But I just feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars don't have an identity, and you don't know what they're going to be on a week-to-week basis. And I don't think they've had an identity through the crisis of multiple coaches in there. I know what they want to be. They want to be this new modern offense that throws the ball up and down the yard, but it hadn't produced results. And you have your games from Etienne when he's in, and he'll produce and he'll have these big games, and they typically win. But it's not just even on the offense. The defense has to play better. They got a talented front that they've invested draft capital in, that they've paid. But then they've made decisions in the secondary. They have guys in the secondary that can't particularly hold on in coverage. And then you have to figure out, how are you going to play Travis Hunter?
81 plays today, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
And so you got to figure that out. So again, it leads back to the point of, what is your identity as a football team?
Well, last week they ran for over 200 yards, and they didn't run the ball today. Why? I have no idea.
All right. Well, they take on the Texans next week, so we'll give them maybe one more chance for Trevor Lawrence to prove who he is, and we'll have this conversation again next week. The Bengals, meanwhile, will take on the Vikings. I do want to take you guys to Pittsburgh before we wrap up this very spirited conversation. And there was a very specific play at the end of this one that I want to talk to you guys about. Caleb Johnson, the rookie, is back on the kickoff. It goes through his hands. The ball then rolls into the end zone. Caleb's headed to the sideline. Like, he's like, okay, whatever, this is done. But Rand, obviously, if this is a player that you drafted, this is certainly not what you want to see as well. Before we get there, though, let's listen in to Mike Tomlin on his thoughts.
Kickoff that they recovered. It's poor judgment by a young player.
That's something you specifically work on in practice?
Every day of our lives.
Enough said there.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Listen, I don't know what profound answer they wanted him to have. Maybe show some tape of the drills that they use. This was just complete lapse of judgment. I don't know if he reverted to college, where if you don't feel the ball, you let it roll and it's dead, and they blow it dead. This is the National Football League. The ball's always live until it's not. And this is what they teach you from the moment you take the field. So this, to me personally, this is where, again, and you were talking about it, Haley, this is a draft pick. So you're not going to cut him. But for me personally, and knowing that he's not playing that big of a piece on offense, for me, he would sit next week. He would sit next week. He
a
would
healthy
be
scratch.
Yes, he would be inactive, and we'll get guys back there that know the rules, that understand how to play this game. Because, again, this is a game of interest. And everything matters. And I think, I don't even remember where we saw.
I think the game was on the line there for that.
Yeah, I think it was, a 3-point lead?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 3-point lead at that time. And so now we're talking about a 3-point lead that then turned into a 10-point lead just off of a poor judgment call from a young player, which shows me that we can't trust you at this point. Not to say you can't earn it back, but in this short time, and especially losing a game the way they did, that they should have won, no, we got to sit you and we got to put some guys back there we can trust.
And I want to say this. This should be a message to all young guys that are in college, rookies right now. Your leash is very short. And if you're not a first-round pick, if you're not the top guy at your position, guess where you're going to be? You're going to be on special teams. And if you don't play on special teams, there is no place for you. So to your point, Rand, I'm sure he will be inactive, because with no production on offense, you're shown to be a liability on special teams. And there's nothing worse that you can do in the National Football League other than show teams that you're not even willing to be competent on special teams. That is the quickest way to get yourself out of the football, or the National Football League.
By the way, the guy who recovered it for a touchdown was a rookie too. So he obviously knew the rule and went and got the ball. And whether he recovered that's a whole other story. It sure didn't look like it.
And again, this is one of those things, like I talked about earlier, like the situation with the Broncos. Rules like that, they come up all the time in practice. They come up all the time in meetings. But once live bullets are flying, everything just goes out the window. No, the situations don't come up that often. I haven't seen a situation like that for a returner in I don't know how long, but when it comes up, you have to know how to handle it. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself in the same situation as Caleb Johnson.
He wouldn't say if he touched it or not either.
All right. Well, would you? Of course not. No. You wouldn't. I will mention as well, there were some pre-draft concerns with Caleb Johnson coming into the conversation whenever he was getting drafted. And so to your point, Rand, it kind of feels like maybe some of that stacks up. We won't cut him yet, but we do have a segment where we're going to cut some people in just a little bit. Got to hit a break here on Game Day Recap. But when we come back, the Lions are back, and so is Dan Campbell. His team gets revenge on their former offensive coordinator. How dominant Detroit was.